Somebody emails, my son has a stress fracture of the foot and was told he cannot bear weight on it for 6 weeks. Could your system help him?
Well, it's important first to look at them. It's hard to determine, but in most cases, yes. And he would go through the system, and the first thing we would do is determine, are the muscles firing correctly to absorb force? Second thing we would do is identify the damage, which would be the stress fracture, get blood supply into that area, and take the force out of that area. And then, consequently, we'd put him into a strength program. We just had a world-class tennis player by the name of Nadia Petrova who had exactly the same injury. And they told her that she would be out for 6 weeks, which would mean she was I think she was number 6 or 7 in the world at that time. Well, if you take off from a couple of tournaments, you drop your ranking. And if you get below the number 10 ranking, that causes a problem both financially as well as the board of directors and things of that nature. Make a long story short, she had a navicular fracture, and we had her playing tennis at a competitive level in 2 weeks.
And I think you told me that story, too. And actually, didn't she get stronger, too, and her serve actually increased in speed?
Yes, she did.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And again, you're going through the very same thing. The first step was to basically see if the nervous system was firing correctly. The second step was to fix the problem caused because the muscles weren't doing their job. And then the third step is regain the strength. We're all strong. We just can't demonstrate that strength. We can't relax the appropriate muscles to demonstrate that strength. And once we do that, strength is improved.
When we first started working together, you told me, you said your right arm, which the golfer's elbow is in my right elbow, you said this arm will actually get stronger and get a little bit bigger. And we checked it today, and you're right. This forearm, I'm not going to say it's Popeye-like. Okay, no. It's not that big, right, but it's stronger than my other forearm right now.
Oh, yeah, we've had, and I've told you a couple of stories, we had quarterbacks that have come in and, we're working on their throwing arm and for very similar to what you had, and they get angry with us because their arm is an inch to an inch and a half bigger in 10 treatments, and, they say, look, dude, I got to have the other one equal, Right. I mean, this looks a little bit strange.
They're chick magnets,
yeah, exactly right.
My biceps. Another listener writes, I'm a 55-year-old woman. I've been diagnosed with a frozen shoulder. Could your system help me? First of all, what's a frozen shoulder?
Yeah, the medical terminology for that is adhesive capsulitis. My standard answer to that question is there's no such thing as a frozen shoulder, which really sets off red flags amongst a lot of conversation in the medical community. Typically what happens is that if it hurts, you're not going to do it. So if it hurts to move your arm, you're going to stop moving your arm. And the more you stop moving your arm, the more the muscles start to protect, and the tighter they protect around that shoulder girdle. And because they're protecting so hard, and now we're trying to move it through physical therapy or physical exercise or whatever, they just become tighter and tighter and tighter and more painful. All we do basically is we put them through the system. It never changes. The first thing we do is determine, is the nervous system firing correctly? If it isn't, we turn those switches on. If it is, well, then we go to the next step, and then we relax those muscles. Immediately, by relaxing those muscles, that arm will move. It's not uncommon at all to have someone with a frozen shoulder that hasn't been able to move their arm off their side for 10 to 15 years, and will have their arm at almost parallel within 10 to 15 minutes.
That's the voice of Dennis Thompson. He's the founder of the ARP Wave Clinic. You're listening to the House of Pain. This is our fourth Sunday show. We're on every Sunday, 7 a.m. here on The Fan. If you'd like to have a question answered on the show, you can email Dennis at arpwave.com. That's arpwave.com. Or comment at kfan.com. Or if you just want to ask a question, not necessarily want your question answered on the air, but if you just like more information about the ARP Wave system, just go to ARP Wave. That's all one word, arpwave.com. Accelerated Recovery
Performance.
Correct, and that's exactly what it does. Another question for you. Emailer writes, I'm 65 years old, have had back pain for years. Could your system help me?
Yeah, almost unequivocally, yes. Anytime we have back pain, traditionally, we find that, again, it's the muscles that are not doing their job. If you just look at things very, very simplistically, if you're having pain, a muscle is protecting you. If you do not have pain, a muscle is stabilizing you. Our job is to get the muscles to stabilize you. When a muscle is tight and it's bunched up and it's splinting and protecting, it's very, very uncomfortable. You can take muscle relaxers and you can take pain medication, and all you're basically doing is hiding the problem. You're not solving the problem. Ironically, you have to ask yourself, why do those muscles hurt? And they hurt because force is going into them that's not supposed to be going into them. Most of our back patients, we end up treating their legs and their back problem goes away.
You told me and that not only a lot of people think, well, all right, fix my injury, then I move on with my life, but the ARP wave system can be used to improve your quality of life year after year after year, correct?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, just solving the problem that is causing you to restrict your activity is a great aspect, but there's so many more things that you can do. Our goal at the clinic is to allow every single human being to move freely without pain. No matter what age, there's no reason for you to have restricted range of motion and pain. I know that's hard for a lot of people to believe, and we've got millions of people on pain medication on a day-to-day basis of time. All they're doing basically is medicating the symptom of that feeling of pain. There is technology now that can identify the origin of that pain and get rid of it.
We're always trying to add some new twists to the show. We've got a new one we'd like to do if we have anybody that would be interested in doing it. If you're listening and think, I'd like to be evaluated by Dennis and his staff or the ARP squad, and you'd be willing to do it during a show, we'd like to have that done. I'd like to invite somebody down to come down to the studio, and while we do the show, we will actually have Dennis and his staff evaluate your problem, kind of go through it. I'll kind of walk people through it. You'll walk them through it. We'll kind of describe it on the air. We'd like to have somebody do that. If you'd be interested in that, email us, arpwave.com or comment@kfan.com. We'll get you set up. We'll do it free of charge and come on in. As a matter of fact, right now you have a special offer for the listeners right now, not for just somebody that wants to be on the air and have sort of like be a guinea pig for it, so to speak, but you have a special offer for listeners.
Sure. That special offer is that anyone listening, if they'd like to find out if we can help them at no cost, just give us a call. Call our offices or come into the website and just let us know. And we'll invite you into the clinic. We'll evaluate you at absolutely no charge. And the one thing that you will find out at no charge is where the origin of your problem is, not where you feel it.
Dennis, thanks again. Good to have you in the studio. We'll talk to you next Sunday.
Thanks, Colin.
That'll do it for this week. This has been the House of Pain on the Fan with the ARP Wave Clinic. That's Dennis Thompson. I've been your host, Dan Cole. We'll talk to you next Sunday here on House of Pain, right here on AM 1130 KFAN.
For more on how ARP Wave Technologies can help you, log on to arpwave.com. This has been the House of Pain on the Fan.